Ladies and gentlemen, over the weekend, we had a maybe one of the bigger upsets we've seen all year. Ant, would you characterize that?
Yeah, I think this might be the biggest upset we've seen all year in the sense of the way that Crestview beat LeBray. That's what the one we're talking about on the boys' side. LeBray coming into Crestview with an undefeated conference record. The first time these two teams played in LeBray, it was all Vikings, and that was back when the Vikings weren't even like that healthy yet. They were still kind of trying to get Austin Rowe back and healthy. So this was a healthy Vikings team coming in high and flying to the Rebels Gymnasium, and Crestview turned the tables and won a gritty performance by 4 points. I think it was 66-62. Forgive me if that final number is not exactly correct, but what a win for Crestview to kind of take the underdog mentality and buy into it and shock the MVAC leaders.
Well, you and I have talked about this before. It's been high school is way more influential when it comes to coaching, right? Coaches can control kind of what happens. They can influence the way games go. And the Rebels, under new leadership this year of Lou Mateo, have done an incredible job. Now, you're going to look at their record and you're going to say, okay, wait, pump the brakes a little bit. But keep in mind that it takes a little bit of time to get buy-in. It takes a little bit of time to get your things implemented into an offense, into a defense, into a program. And we're going to talk to the head ball coach here in moments. But I can tell you this, there are a lot of people that are really jazzed up about Coach Mateo, his staff, the program, what he brings to the table, the history, the tradition, all of that stuff, everything. And the thing that I love about coaches, and we've talked about this numerous times, and almost every coach we talk to, is where does it start? And for Coach Mateo, I believe it is very foundational. As much as he can get, as young as he can get, getting them to buy into the Rebel basketball program, which when I went to school was their number one. They were good in football, yes, but it was a basketball program. They were expected to win every time they took the floor. And I believe that this man that we're bringing on right now is a guy that has those same expectations, has those Struthers roots. And ladies and gentlemen, we invite and welcome in Lou Mateo, the head ball coach of the Crestview Rebel basketball team. Coach, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate what you guys do and what you guys bring to sports and athletics. It means a lot to all of us.
We appreciate you, sir. I mean, to walk into and we kind of talked a little bit off the record before the show, to walk into a Crestview program that when you walk into their hallways before you get to their gym, it is just littered with gold and hoopers and broken records and record holders. It can be intimidating at times. When you walked in there the first time, what did you think and what were your expectations and how did that first meeting go?
The first meeting there was, like I said, very welcoming. We talked, off record about everyone being very welcoming. But going into there, when I walked into the gym, it was very nostalgic. It kind of reminded me of like something like the field house at Struthers, not quite as big and things like that. But it was very, I like that old school mentality that in the way they carry themselves. And to go through the hallways was very, very intriguing, knowing that there's roots there still. Well, there's still a lot of athletes. I have a young man on my basketball team right now as a sophomore. His dad was part of that district title team 25 years ago, which we just honored them recently. And it wasn't so much intimidating. It was more intriguing and was more exciting knowing that there's still people in the community and still people in the schools that are coming from those backgrounds and those roots.
When the job opened, Coach, what were some things that kind of drew you to wanting to apply for that Crestview job and then take it when you got it? What were some things that drew you to the Crestview Rebels program?
I didn't honestly. It was funny you say that. I saw a post from Mr. Casey Boger, the AD there. He's a new AD there, coming from Cheney. He had posted it online, and when I saw it, I knew a couple young men that went to Crestview, and I had played some semi-pro football with one of the guys that was on staff there, Troy Dewey. And when I saw a post, it was kind of exciting because I know a lot of Crestview people and how hard they work. And so it was just, and for me, it was another challenge that I like to have. I challenge myself every day in everyday life. And then obviously I want to help programs. And I saw they have some pieces there. And again, I've talked to enough people from Crestview to know that they're going to be very supportive. And that was huge for me to go into that, especially not being from the community and not being from Columbiana and Columbiana County. It was new, exciting, and I thought I could bring something to them and help them kind of raise above where they've been.
You certainly have. I mean, it was evident the first time I walked in and got to see you guys in person. Obviously, we get to watch a lot of film on you, but it's never the same on film as it is in that gymnasium, especially the one that you play in and call home. You talked about your staff and kind of bringing that infusion of Struthers with you. And I told you, when you talk about basketball in this area, if you're not talking about Struthers, you're missing out. And I think Crestview understood that. And they wanted that gritty determination, that hard-nosed basketball that you see in the field house year in and year out. For you, when you walked in and you saw, excuse me, you walked in and you saw all these Crestview players, you got a bunch of athletes. Not many are necessarily just basketball players. How do you make them into basketball players from that football? Because Crestview is a smaller school.
They are, and it's nice because me and Coach Dom have kind of figured some things out together. Understand that the weight room is very important, off season is very important, and it was nice to get a couple athletes that play football to play basketball because I'm also a football coach as well. Coached for years at Struthers High School, and being a football guy, you can translate on the basketball court because of physicality, and like again that grit, that toughness, that determination. I think football is a huge key implement to help with basketball, and they kind of work hand in hand because basketball also helps those athletes stay in shape, number one, but two, just keep competing throughout the year, which is what we try to instill in our young men.
And, we all talk about trying to instill the culture that you want, and sometimes it can take some time. Talk about going through the preseason and then going through the first couple of weeks of this season and what it took to instill that culture and get these kids to buy into what you were kind of selling as the head coach of this program. And now we've seen they absolutely bought into it now.
It's more of a trust thing. They had to trust me, not coming in again, not knowing them, not knowing me, not having too many ties there at all, pretty much. It was a little struggle in the beginning just because they didn't know us. So they only knew one way of doing things. And the way we brought things in was a lot of principles and a lot of just fundamentals. And they were shocked at how many fundamental drills we were bringing to practice and how hard we wanted them to work every day. They just said they haven't had that in years past, and that's not for anybody's fault. Just maybe some people just didn't do it, or the kids didn't buy in even then. But now I think they started to trust us a little bit, and it just kind of understand what we're about, because it's a consistency thing. It's not just from players, but from coaches. We have to be consistent as coaches to help these young men to be consistent. And if we're not consistent and drilling it into them, then why should they buy in? So I think it took some time for them to understand that, and the trust to start to build throughout the year, which is it's perfect leading up to the tournament, the way we're playing basketball.
Yeah, and a perfect segue into my next question. The way you're playing basketball, it seems like you guys are getting stronger as the season grows longer. When you have a win like you did the other night against LeBray, and when you have some of the wins and signature wins, quite honestly, that you do on your slate right now, on your resume, we know that the pool was yesterday.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to necessarily look at it, but I mean, how much of this now is it doesn't matter who's playing against us? They're just nameless gray faces. And how much do you have to get up for a game against a team that's undefeated in your conference?
For us, it just boils down to just taking care of us. I mean, every team we play on our schedule is always going to be a battle. It's going to be tough, and it should be. That's just high school sports. That's sports in general, competitive nature. And for us, we just have to take care of us fundamentally. And the biggest thing we talk about is not turning the ball over. We set goals every game. Every day of practice, we set goals. But for games, there's goals set in place that if you can do these things, I can promise you'll be in a game and you'll have an opportunity to win that game. If you don't take care of those goals, or if you don't meet those goals, we're going to struggle a little bit. And that's kind of what happened in the beginning of the year for the most part. And we've started to correct a lot of those mistakes. And again, the fundamentals are there. The principles are there about being physical at all points in time and taking on physicality as well, because some of the teams we play, they're pretty physical. And I love it. That's enticing to me. I love physicality because, again, being a football guy coming into basketball also, I like that, the way we play in our league as well.
Coach, looking at your roster, you don't have that one guy that's averaging 15, 20 points a game, but you have four guys that are averaging more than 6 points a game. What's it like to have, such a balanced offense and such a group of guys that they've played together for so long, they trust each other, and they really work together so well? What's it like to coach a roster like that?
It's phenomenal because now you can't just focus on one player. Some teams that I've watched in years past would have one or two guys. We have three or four guys that could really put it in the hoop. And they play together because they're starting to communicate even well, even on defense. That's my biggest thing is communication, and it has to be effective in positive communication. Like whether it's calling out screens, getting over top of the screen, switching things like that. That's a huge thing for those young men. And I think that's why they've been so well and so balanced, because all those guys are buying in. They have bought into each other and the team itself. It's just not always about coaches. It is about players. It is about characters, because, young men are dealing with school and things at home and whatever they're doing in their lives. So it is about them communicating with one another. And I think that shows, and it's very imminent, especially from our senior class and the leadership that we have out of our seniors.
Okay, Coach, we talked about the Struthers roots, and, obviously you have your own coaching style that you've built over the years. Who are some of the influences or influencers that you've brought in your coaching style? You've kind of taken a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and you've injected it into your own coaching style to be the head best basketball coach of the Rebels.
Coming from with Coach Wernicke, great man, great basketball mind. He's taught me a lot. And, honestly, the old school Coach Fioline stuff as we have a lot here, because one of the young men that started for him and played it for him as a freshman all the way throughout his senior year, I brought on, and he's been very, very integral to what we do here, and brought that Struthers mentality as well, was Mike Culinary, my varsity assistant. I honestly couldn't do a whole lot without him. You need great assistants, great programs, and great, if anybody's going to continue to be great or be good at all, you have to understand that you have to have good assistants and people around you and around your young men. So those two men, Coach Fioline's offense and defense, and his mentality, his principles are here as well. But Coach Wernicke has been very, he's been very instrumental as to what I've done. I also have another gentleman. He's younger than me, but he coaches very hard, very well. Is very, very smart. Is one of my best friends, Jim Francischelli. He's the head coach at McDonald, and I've learned a lot from him as well, because everything is just like, you talk about copycat leagues in the NFL and things like that. A lot of basketball is copycat stuff as well. So it's awesome to have that. And I also have another young man that coaches with us on our staff, Austin McCullough. He graduated a few years ago from Struthers. He played for Coach Wernicke. So I'm bringing that Struthers grit that my guys on staff know what we expect, and we are getting the best out of our young men.
Yeah, talk about that Struthers great. You're getting some love from Nancy Knight, the AD over at Struthers in the comment section.
I love her. She's awesome. She's awesome.
The GOAT.
Coach, the GOAT. Coach, we got you on after this LeBray win. I want to talk a little bit about the specifics of this game, the mindset going into it, what kind of the game plan was, what worked so well. Talk about the flow of this game, what kind of a big win is for your program, and what you think the keys to victory were that night against LeBray.
Game plan was, again, not to turn the ball over. We talked about not having under double-digit turnovers and to try to keep them under 50 and under, which is very tough for a program like that, because they're very well coached. Their coaches does a phenomenal job. He really does. They're physical. They're athletic. They obviously have the 1,000-point scorer on there. They just got Rowe back. He's back healthy, shooting the ball. The biggest thing was trying to force them to shoot perimeter shots as much as we could, try to keep it out of the paint. They got their inside big guy had 18 points. He just out rebounded us, out physical us for a little bit. But some of the mentality was coming out as I kind of brought up about the Super Bowl. It was the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, against the Chiefs. Now, the Philly mentality was back then I asked all the kids, have you ever saw the movie Rocky? I consider them the Russian. They're undefeated in the league. We're kind of bottom of the barrel right now in our league, and we have to come out with that Rocky mentality and play that underdog role. Because in a fight, everybody wants to fight until you get hit in the mouth. Now we have to take a punch and be able to give one back. And I think our kids handled that very well. I think they were very excited, and we played that that underdog role very well. Now, the biggest thing for the keys of the game essentially was to do that exterior shots. That if they beat us out there, it just wasn't our night. Essentially, try to avoid as much penetration in the middle, because that's what happened to us the first game. They penetrated on us, and we were in trouble there. So we fixed a lot of our inadequacies from defense, and I think that helped us immensely. And the other thing was a lot of kids hit some big shots. I had a young man that came off the bench, hasn't started all year. I started him this game. Number 20 is a senior, Hayden Patrone, and he hit 3 big threes for us in that game. And I was very excited for that young man.
All right, so we know that Crestview's gone through, a list of coaches in the recent past. And obviously there's a lot of trust issues when a program goes through so much turnover. For you, what have you told the families, not just the ones that are playing for you right now, but we all know that there is a giant black and gold wave coming up of athletes, both in the girls' side and the boys' side, that are excelling at the lower levels. What have you talked to those families about in trying to build that trust with them to keep them not only excited about the program, but invested in the program?
Biggest thing is just we want to be here. We want to be consistent. We want to be a long stay here. There's as a staff, as a program, and just understand that for them to trust us, they have to know us, and they have to know us as people. So that was one of the biggest things. My first interview there was talking about me getting to know the communities and the community members and the not just the fans, but the families, because a lot of places that you go to have broken families, whether it's families that are either, divorced or separated or whatever. And so I have to get through all of them, not just the ones that are just sitting at home with them and taking care of them, as well the other people that are outside there to help, whether it's aunts, uncles, whoever, because they have families there as well. But the biggest thing for us was obviously just building a culture and showing them that we're not just about basketball, we're about life. Because I think after this game of basketball, it goes on to into life. And that was our biggest culture change that we wanted to do, or things we wanted to bring from Struthers, that guess what? We're going to have basketball here. We're going to be tough. We're going to be competitive, but we want our young men to be competitive in life outside of basketball. That's in the classroom. That's in your job, in your everyday life. And the biggest thing for us was you can't give up on one another, because we never want you to give up on your family, because someday you're going to be a husband. You're obviously a son, you're going to be a father, and we want you to always fight for your family. And that's the same thing we're doing with basketball. We're trying to fight for one another.
Coach, we've been talking about how much your players have grown and learned this season and how much they've come together. What about you as a coach? What do you think this season has taught you as a coach? What do you think you've taken away and learned and grown from this year coaching the Rebels?
I guess it's one of those things I've learned this year is don't expect things to be done the same everywhere. And I know it's not a knock on anything here, because I think the coaches in the years past have done a great job as well. I just think that there's certain things that you bring and you think it's an everyday drill that people never did. So my whole thing was never just assume things are right or assume things are the way they are. And sometimes you have to they have to do it from the ground up. And so we're building this program from the ground up for us, because it's our principles, it's our, as Struthers grit coming to Crestview. And I think the two communities together, essentially, and I say communities because it's us coaches there, with me, Coach Culinary, and Coach McCullough coming there, is really bringing that nice, I guess I would say, competitive balance for them. And also the young men that we have at Crestview, I swear, they work so hard. And so now all we got to do is just keep off of that, the hard work, determination. We brought that grit for them, whether it was mentally or physically. And I think those two together is really what I've learned, is that don't ever assume anything is done the same way everywhere. But now we're doing it here, and it's gonna stay here for as long as I can be here, and I want to be here for the rest of my life.
Coach, last question for me. I gotta imagine you feel the same way this time of year. It is a magical time of year when it comes to the playoffs, the tournament. Everything that happened can be erased. You guys are playing your best ball right now. What do you expect from your team moving forward from this point forward, and what can fans expect from the Crestview Rebels this year in the 2025 tourney?
Well, I expect us to stay hungry, because once you have a big win like that in the league and against a very, very good team, sometimes you can have a letdown or a trap game or things like that. We have to stay on point, and our whole thing is laser focus. We must be laser focused on every task at hand. Whether it's every set we run, every time up and down the floor, both ends of the floor, we want to be focused so that we don't want to have any letdowns, especially this time of year, which is great for us. Like I said, the past 4 and 5 games, we've been very competitive throughout with every team we've been playing, and that's helped us. And I think we're growing at the right time. We're getting tough at the right time. We're being consistent at the right time. Leading in the tournament, that's huge for us.
Coach, my last thing for you is just letting you give a shout out to the community and the fans that have supported you all year, and how much it's meant to this team and how much it's helped your team kind of do what they've been able to do.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone in Crestview and everything they've done and the support that they've showed for our young men, not just for us as coaches, but for the young men, because that's what it's all about. It really is. It's about the high school kids, the kids that compete every day. I appreciate every one of them. A lot of them have multiple children in our program, so we want to continue to keep that growing And I really appreciate everybody from Crestview that has been supportive for us and can continue to support us as well. I really appreciate you, and go Rebels.
Coach, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking some time. We know it's valuable this time of year, especially and talking to us. Huge fans of you. I'm ready to run through a wall for you right now. Some of the stuff you said. So appreciate the motivation and best of luck in the tourney, Coach.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate what you guys do for us. Thank you so much.
You got it.